Okay, all right. The gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Jordan, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The previous member just said bemoan the results and talked about the big lie. Well, how about the big lies? How about all the lies the Democrats have told us over the last couple of years? Democrats told us the protests in the summer of 2020 were peaceful. Democrats told us the dossier was real. Democrats told us Trump colluded with Russia. We had a $30 million investigation done by Bob Mueller that said that wasn't true. Democrats told us the Russian bounty story was true. Democrats told us COVID didn't start in a Chinese lab. Nope, didn't start there. It was a bat to a pangolin to a hippopotamus to Joe Rogan, and we get no. And then Democrats for 4 years told us the 2016 election was stolen. They could investigate that for 4 years. We're not allowed to question some concerns we have about the 2020 election for 4 minutes, but they could investigate that for 4 years. In fact, on January 6, 2017, Democrats objected to more states than Republicans objected to on January 6, 2021. Mr. Raskin himself objected to the state of Florida, to certifying the results from the state of Florida on January 6, 2017. But we're not allowed to ask questions. I mean, they objected to the state of Alabama. Alabama, a state that President Trump won by 30 points. They can object to Alabama, but we're not allowed to object to Pennsylvania, where in the run-up to that election, they changed their election law in unconstitutional fashion. We're not allowed to object to that or do an audit in Arizona. Give me a break. Mr. Becker, the chairwoman, in her opening statement, the chairwoman criticized the fact that private funds were used to finance the Arizona audit. Do you share her criticism of that?
I do, in the sense that it was untransparent. They resisted any kind of transparency to that endeavor. My organization.
The fact that Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg gave over $400 million for the election itself.
Yes, I was just getting to that. Actually, my organization received over $60 million from Mr. Zuckerberg and Ms. Chan to grant to any state that wanted to apply for it for purposes of conducting voter education for
Facebook. How many million?
Over $60 million that my organization re-granted to the states.
And that's fine.
Yeah, it was all done transparently. We've put out in March of this year, and I'm sure you've read it, Representative Jordan. We put out a report, a full transparent report listing all of the states that applied, 23 states, some of them very blue like Connecticut, some of them very red like South Carolina. The exact amounts that went to each state and what the money went for.
I got a question here. It's okay for private funds to be used to run the election. It's not okay for private funds to be used to audit an election. Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is transparency is paramount, and that transparency should be done under any circumstances. Ideally, private funds wouldn't be used for election administration. What would, Madam Chair,
I'd like some transparency on how that $400 million was used to run the election, and exactly what your organization did with the over $50 million I think you said you received. Mr. Bennett, there were 3 numbers that were pointed out in the audit that I just want to get your reaction to. Well, first of all, is auditing a bad thing? Auditing an election, is that a bad thing?
Absolutely not. In fact, it's already in state law that the counties do a limited audit. The Senate did a full forensic audit in this situation.
Yeah, normally we think auditing is a good thing. It just keeps everything, it's accounting, it's an understanding of what actually took place. We normally view that. Why do Democrats hate audits?
You'd have to ask a Democrat. I don't know why they hate audits. To me, we have an Auditor General office in the state of Arizona. Every state agency is audited every 3 or 4 years, some annually. Everyone seems to support that. I think audits of elections are warranted as well.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, they tried to audit the 2016 election. They're still trying to do it. They still haven't accepted the results from the 2016, but we're not allowed to ask questions and do a few audits on the 2020 election. I got 3 numbers I want to run by you that were in the actual audit, Arizona. 23,344 mail-in ballots from a different address. 9,044 more ballots returned by a voter than were sent to that voter, and 5,295 ballots with the same name and birth date. from a different county than were sent to the voter. Can you tell me about those three numbers and what those findings, what they may, just tell me what your thoughts on those three numbers.
Well, the first number was the 23,000. My recollection is that 15,000 of those 23,000 were voters who moved within Maricopa County just prior to the election. That does not make them ineligible to vote in the county, so there's probably nothing wrong with those 15,000. There was 6,000 of that 23 that was thought by the auditors to be folks that moved out of Arizona just prior to the election. And if so, probably shouldn't have been allowed to vote. But when they looked at the voter registration of those 6,000, it was divided equally, 2,000 Republicans, about 2,000 Democrats, and about 2,000 no party designation. So we don't know whether or not those, what the votes were on those ballots.
6,000, you said that was 6,000.
That was about 6,000, yes.
Okay.
The other two numbers that you mentioned are numbers that the auditors determined to be questionable based on their comparison of the final vote data released by Maricopa County compared to commercial databases. That has given rise to questions that Maricopa County says that they can answer. And so, as I said in my testimony, we welcome answers and verification of that from the county.
Okay.
What about
the gentleman's time has expired, and maybe we can get these answers